Right now at 5, the U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to review a Colorado court ruling that bars President Trump from appearing on the state's Republican primary ballot. This politically explosive case thrusts the Supreme Court into the middle of the 2024 presidential election. The court has a 6-3 conservative majority, including 3 justices appointed by the former president.
Our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes, joining us here in the studio with more. Khalif.
Today, the Supreme Court held its first day of oral arguments in the new year. 2024 already shapes up to be a big one for the High Court, as exactly 1 month from now, justices will hear oral arguments in the Colorado ballot case involving former President Donald Trump. The Supreme Court will decide whether or not the former president's name can appear on the primary ballots. The whole case revolves around the 14th Amendment, Section 3, which dates back to 1868, just after the Civil War, and took aim at former Confederates by barring people from holding office if they helped or took part in an insurrection after taking office to the Constitution. Whatever the Supreme Court decides could impact over a dozen similar cases filed around the country. While states like Michigan said the Republican Party can put anyone it wants on the ballot, the Colorado Supreme Court and Maine Secretary of State believe Mr. Trump's involvement on January 6th can be considered taking part in what they describe as an insurrection. During a recent rally in Iowa, former President Trump warned about the impact of the High Court's decision, even bringing up late Indiana coach Bobby Knight and his reputation for angry outbursts when talking about Democrats casting doubt about the possible decision from conservative justice. But over the weekend, former House Secretary, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi said, believed Mr. Trump played a key role on January 6th.
What they're doing is no different than Bobby Knight. They're playing the ref. I watched that. I said, man, they're really good. They're really good at it. And I just hope we get fair treatment because if we don't, our country's in big, big trouble. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? I think so.
Yes, I think that he engaged in insurrection. I think that he incited an insurrection. And again, that he would not stop what was going on. As his own people said, this is your legacy. Smoke coming from the Capitol is your legacy.
Oral arguments for the Colorado case will be held on February 8th. That comes less than a month before the primary on Super Tuesday. For now, the Colorado and Maine decisions remain on hold as the appeals process plays out, meaning Mr. Trump's name can still appear on the primary ballots.
Khalif, thanks for breaking all of that down for us. But, you know, when the Supreme Court looks at this case, how do they approach it? Because the public perception, they already view the Supreme Court through a partisan lens. So can they even win in the public's eyes?
I would quickly jump in there on a couple of things. First, that is a very unique and weird situation for them to be in, because one way they could not even hear the case is if they decided that this is an issue of political decision. And they could say, you know what, we can't even touch this because it has so many political bearings. But it flips on its head the normal lens that you see things in. Typically, folks that would rule in the president's favor would be Jackson, Sotomayor, and Agin. Those are folks that typically would be against him, but in this case, their thought process of being folks that are a living, breathing constitutional document would lean towards the president's side. However, the folks that normally would rule in his favor are placed in a very weird position. All of the folks that are original constitutionalists, textualists, the people that are typically conservatives would normally rule against him. So this is going to be a weird flip where his folks that would seem like his allies would traditionally be the folks that were going up against him.
And of course, we can't know this, but I just really want to get your opinion on this. What do you think is going to happen? Because if you look at this, just as you said, this is unprecedented. We haven't seen this before, but this does carry implications for other states and moving forward into the general election of 2024.
I don't have a crystal ball. What I can tell you is that if you're looking at the text of the language and you have a 6-3 majority of folks that typically are originalists, folks that look at the original meaning of the text, you would think that it would play out on the side of him not being on the ballot. However, I am in reality, and I think that it would take us into, as the former president said, a tailspin. And even though the justices aren't supposed to consider that, they're human beings, and I think they will. And for that reason, I think that he will be on the ballot because they don't want to make the determination. They don't want to go back to Bush v. Gore having to decide who is the president. They want the people to decide that, and so do I. And so because of that reason, I don't think that he's off the ballot.
It'll be really interesting. It'll be the second time, too, that the Supreme Court has to weigh in on something election-related because it reminds us of George W. Bush when he had to make a decision that
They didn't
him
want to
into
do
the
it then, and
presidency.
they definitely don't want to do
Yeah.
it now.
Yeah,
All right,
tough
Khalif.
position to be in.
Thanks.